Om Tare Tu Re Mangalam Shri Mahapani Swaha Om Tare Tu Re Mangalam Shri Mahapani Swaha Om Tare Tu Re Mangalam Shri Mahapani Swaha Om Tare Tu Re Mangalam Shri Mahapani Swaha.
Welcome everyone. This is the Lama Life livestream event with Lama Tsultrim Allione. I'm Dreame, connecting with you from Poland, and it brings me great joy to open this weekly gathering for our Sangha and to welcome each of you joining us in real time or later through the recording. Your presence is truly appreciated. Thank you for being a part of this moment. At Tara Mandala, we are committed to being a welcoming, open, and safe community for practitioners and students of all cultures, races, religions, genders, sexual orientations, age, ability, and circumstances. As we take our seats and settle ourselves, taking a few deep breaths, let us acknowledge the land we are sitting on as the ancestral home of indigenous peoples and generate a feeling of gratitude for all those who walked on and cared for this land before us. Taramandala is located on ancestral Ute and Pueblo land in the San Juan Mountains of southwest Colorado. For generations, the people of the Ute and Pueblo nations have resided on this sacred land, forming a deep and symbiotic connection with the natural living ecosystem of rivers, mountains, canyons, lakes, and forests. Taramandala is committed to recognizing the long history of the Anasazi, Ute, Diné, Apache, and Pueblo tribal communities whose ancestral roots are intertwined across this region. Let us also cultivate a heartfelt feeling of appreciation for all the many beings, near or far, seen or unseen, who make it possible for us to be here today. This includes our families and friends, our communities and natural ecosystems, as well as our fellow practitioners and teachers. I'm delighted to share that today Lama Tsultrim is accompanied by a special guest, a remarkable Dharma teacher whose influence has touched and inspired the lives of many within our community. And it's none other than Dorje Lopön Chandra Easton. Lopön Chandra is a Tibetan scholar and translator. She serves on Taramandala's Prajna Teacher Council, Executive Committee, and Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Council. She develops programs and curricula for Taramandala, as well as teaches nationally and internationally. Today, we are celebrating the incredible accomplishment of Lopön Chandra. Her book, Embodying Tara, 21 Manifestations to Awaken Your Innate Wisdom, was released through Shambhala Publications just a few days ago, on December 12th. May it enrich the journey of each one of us. And may our time together today be of benefit to and relieve suffering for all beings everywhere, without one exception. It's an honor to welcome Lama Tsultrim Allione. Thank you, everyone.
Welcome, everyone. Wonderful to be here to celebrate Lopön Chandra's book. And I'm greeting you from Costa Rica. Let's all take a moment and raise bodhicitta. Heartfelt intention to be together this morning for the benefit of all beings. Thank you. So I'll tell you a little bit about how today will go. Lopön Chandra will come in the beginning now, and she'll lead a meditation on one of the 21 Taras. And then we'll have a time where we talk. I ask her some questions, we share some things, and she talks about her book and so on. And then in the end, there'll be another little meditation, short meditation. So that's the plan, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so I want to welcome Dorje Lopön Chandra Easton. Welcome and congratulations on your book.
Thank you.
I know having a book is like having a baby.
Yes.
I think it's easier than having a baby after it's done, but I'm not sure it's easier the pregnancy.
That's a great point. Yeah, this pregnancy really took its toll. You know, I'm not young anymore. So, you know, as we get older, having babies can be harder on the body, but it was still a joy. And yeah, now it feels like it can take wings, and it's one of those babies who's fully gestated when they leave the womb, and they can just go like a horse, go walk right away. Maybe a little bit.
Yeah, it is amazing in that moment when you first hold your book in your hands and it's actually done.
Yeah.
That's such a beautiful moment. So now you're going to lead us in a little meditation.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Lama La, for inviting me in here to that has come through me with the Taras and the 21 Taras and why they're important. And what I'll do now is talk about a little bit about the 5th Tara, Kurukulla. So we'll focus on her today as one of the 21 Taras. And I've asked, in a moment, I'll ask Dreame to show some images of her. And the reason why I'm focusing on this 5th Tara today is because in the book, I talk about real life women who embody the qualities of these various 21 Taras. And when I was looking around the world, you know, looking at women, historical, current, Buddhist, non-Buddhist, women from all around the world, trying to find an embodiment of this magnetizing goddess of longevity and all that is beneficial in the world. She's a Padma deity, the red Kurukulla. I kept coming back to 2 very important women who embody her qualities in my mind. And I feel like it was a really fun and dynamic and enriching link to make. And that is first of Machi Gladrun, who herself was very magnetizing, and then the modern day emanation of Machig, who is none other than our dear Lama Tsultrim here. And so I have biographies of both of these women in chapter 5 of the 5th Tara chapter. So I thought it would be a sweet, auspicious way to share this time together, and Lama was okay with that. And so we'll celebrate that. I'll share more after the meditation. So let's go ahead now and to shift into the practice of Tara Kurukulla. But before you close your eyes, I'd like to ask Dreame to share an image or 2 of her, and then I'll teach her mantra briefly, so that then we can enter into the practice and recite her mantra and embody her. The book is called Embodying Tara, right? So the main really gestalt of this, is embodiment. How do we feel her come alive in us in her various aspects? And so that's what we'll do here. But first, I'd like to show who you're going to embody. Who is this amazing Tara? Yeah, so Tara Wangdu Rijay Lamo, the goddess who magnetizes intelligence, a way to translate her name into her Tibetan version of the name is Tara, magnetizing goddess of knowledge, which is interesting, Rijay. In Tibetan, in Sanskrit, her name is Tara Kurukulla. And she is red in color, which you can tell by the halo around her body in the background. That signifies her color in the statues that we have at the Tara Mandala temple. And so she's this dynamic red color. And she, like all the Taras, is seated on a lotus and moon disk. She has 2 arms and 2 legs and 1 face. And you can see that her right hand is resting on her right knee in the gesture of supreme generosity, symbolizing her commitment to continuously and generously provide protection and compassion and liberation to all beings. And then in her left hand is at her heart. And you can even sort of maybe take this for yourself, because I'll invite you to do it when we embody her. This mudra with the left hand is the thumb and the ring finger touching, and the other 3 fingers fanning out. This is the mudra of the 3 jewels, or the protection mudra. And the thumb and the ring finger symbolize the union of skillful means and wisdom, or wisdom and compassion is another way to say that. Compassionate, skillful means, and wisdom. The other 3 fingers symbolize the 3 jewels of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So as you take that, you can really feel the embodiment of her. Even if this is the only mudra you take, the only gesture you do, it really helps to bring that feeling of her commitment to provide refuge, to embody enlightened qualities for the benefit of beings. And in those 2 fingers, let's see the image again, is she's holding the Utpala stem, the blue lotus stem that rises and blooms above her left shoulder. And on that Utpala, we have a close-up, is a bow and arrow, which symbolizes her capacity to pierce the heart of duality and bring beings into the direct realization of their true nature, of emptiness, bliss, unified. And so we will imagine that energy, her bow and arrow. It's not too explicit here, but often it's described to also have red Padma flowers, red lotuses, strewn with rainbow ribbon colors along the bow and the arrow itself. So much rich symbolic meaning here we don't have time to go into. So that gives you a sense of her power, her energy. Let's see one more thing about her I'd like to highlight, because we will embody this quality too, which is her legs. So you see she's not in full lotus. She's seated on the moon disk in lotus, but her right foot is stepping forward, called the horse dismounting posture. And her right foot stepping forward, symbolizing she is stepping forward in samsara, meaning she is committed to being of service to beings. So when we practice, you can even feel that. Like if your right foot's a little forward on your cushion or in your seat, what does that feel like to be stepping a bit forward, making yourself available? You're not aloof. And then the other leg is folded in closely to the body with the heel near the perineum. And that symbolizes her complete, utter stability and abidance in nirvana. She is in her central channel, the bliss and the joy of nirvana. So she holds those 2 experiences within her. So you'll get to feel that now. Okay, so let's embody Tara. So it'll be a brief meditation. And in a way we can just drop in and not overthink it. We'll just drop right in and feel our embodiment of her as we sound her seed syllable tam, and I'll guide you through the recitation of her mantra, which is Om Tare, Tutare, Ture, Kurukulla, Nija, Svaha. I'm sorry, would you just show that? You open your eyes and see the mantra. Om Tare, Tutare, Ture, Kurukulla, Nija, Svaha. It's her root mantra with some words put in the middle, which is Kurukulla Nija. Kurukulla is her name, and it's in the vocative form. So, oh, Kurukulla, or Kurukulla, we're calling her. Nija can mean a few different things, but essentially meaning born from a lotus. She is born from a lotus. Svaha. Okay, now we'll show that again while we're reciting it. So if you need to see it, you can see it. But let's close our eyes. And take some relaxation breaths, relaxing the body, releasing tension with the out breath. Relaxing the emotional body. Feel where you may be holding emotional tension, releasing with the out breath as much as possible, softening. And also then releasing any mental tension, letting any mental tightness, worries, or concerns melt with the out breath, letting go. Feel your body receptive to the breath, your belly relaxed as you breathe in and out. Feeling that quality of being, of presence in this moment with the body and the breath. And in this presence, there's a feeling of infinite possibilities, that anything can happen. In this domain of the imagination, the inner depth of the mind, heart, anything is possible. The sky is the limit here. That means we can embody Tara Kurukulla ourselves and recite the mantra and feel that we're enacting her enlightened activities of magnetizing all that is beneficial in the world. Good health, auspiciousness, healing, liberation. So now what we'll do is take a nice long inhalation, and then we will sound her seed syllable tam, T-A-M, together in a long, deep, low, meditative way. And as we recite the tam, we imagine that our body transforms from our normal body of flesh and bone to a light body of Tara Kurukulla, red in color, hollow like a balloon, vibrating with this luminosity. So let's inhale, remembering anything is possible here. Really embody as much as possible. Feel the posture of the legs, the right leg extended, the left leg slightly in, embodying both the presence in samsara and nirvana. If you wish, you can take the left hand in the mudra of the three jewels at your heart, holding the stem of the utpala, atop which is the bow and arrow that pierces the heart of duality, liberating beings into the non-dual state. The right hand is at your knee, palm up. Supreme generosity of compassion and protection for all beings everywhere. You are dynamic. You are semi-fierce and joyful, meaning semi-fierce, semi-peaceful. You hold those opposites within yourself. And you're red in color. And for a few moments, we'll recite her mantra together, embodying her enlightened activity of magnetizing all that is beneficial and bringing healing, longevity, and liberation to all beings as we imagine rainbow wisdom light emanates in all directions from our heart. And Dreame will show the mantra on the screen if you need the support. We'll chant for a few minutes. Om Tare Tu Re Kurukulla Nrija Svaha. 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 Om Tare Tutare Ture Kurukule 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 Nrija Svaha. And now the dissolution, where we imagine that the world, the universe, all appearances, all inhabitants of this world, everything dissolves into radiant light. That blissful, radiant light, all appearances dissolve back into the ground. And then that light dissolves into you as Tara Kurukulla. And feel that light filling your form as red Tara, filling you with bliss, light. And then you as Tara Kurukulla dissolve from the crown of your head and the soles of your feet, dissolving slowly towards the center of the heart chakra. And then as that energy converges at the heart center, you feel that convergence dissolving into an orb of radiant red light. And then that light dissolves. And then rest in the experience after the dissolution. Rest for a moment. Releasing thoughts and coming back to that expansive experience of resting in awareness. And then slowly come back to your form, but as Tara Kurukulla, so you feel that unification, integration of Tara's enlightened energy within you as you come back to your body. And to close, I'll recite the dedication of merit prayer within the book and her sadhana. Through this virtue, may I quickly attain the state of noble Tara. May I bring each and every being, without exception, to that state. May all beings be healthy, free from suffering and its causes, and may they awaken to their true nature. And then slowly begin to open your eyes. And come back into the space together. So that gives you a sense of a consolidated, this kind of essentialized sadhana or meditation on Tara, a more expanded version of that is found at the end of every chapter of the book for each of the taras. So I hope that you felt the embodiment in some way.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Rigjima.
Rijema, yes.
Yeah, that energy of the Padma family of magnetism. Maybe you could talk a little bit more about the 4 Trinley that she embodies, the 4 enlightening activities.
Yes. Yeah. So even though she's the Padma, she's red. So that signals, okay, she's in the Padma family. And a lot of your students will know that because the mandala is so important within your teachings, the book Wisdom Rising, the 5 Dakini mandala practices. We really learn about those 4 enlightened activities and their association with the colors. So red, Padma family, the power is Wangdu, right? Wangdu is this magnetizing power. I thought I could read a little bit from the book to answer your question, or should I don't know. I could talk about the Wangdu and the 4 powers.
Yeah, I think if you can just talk about it without reading the best.
Yeah, I can do that too. Absolutely. Yeah, so the red, the Padma magnetizing, this word called magnetizing is actually a compound word of Wang and then Du, which is power, Wang, or it has other implications too, like when we have empowerment ceremonies, it's called a Wang. And then Du means to consolidate. So it's like a bringing together of power. Sometimes it can be empowering, but it can also be overpowering, right? But what often the connotation is that magnetizing, meaning drawing together. So that's the red Padma family Trinley, the enlightened activity. But in her description, in the commentaries to the 21 Taras praises that these practices are based on, the Kempo brothers and other teachers say, well, she's also not just magnetizing, but she has the power to enact all the enlightened activities. So what those are is in the Vajra family in the East is to kind of pacify, right? So the Vajra enlightened activity is to pacify all that is negative or harmful or ego clinging, right? And I'd love if you want to enhance that, that's great. Would love that. And then, but also then moving around into the Ratna family of the South, the golden color. So Vajra was blue in the Nyingma tradition. In the South, the Ratna family embodies enrichment. So the enlightened qualities of enriching all that is good, like good health, longevity, but also abundance, and our qualities of enlightened nature, of one taste, being able to have a wisdom of equanimity and the earth beneath us, and embodying that stability and balance within our realization and within our life. So she also has that power within her. And then in the West, the Padma is as we know, is to magnetize. The Wangdu is often that red Padma family enlightened activity. And then in the North, the Karma family of green color, like green Tara, is often said to subdue. Maybe you have other way you like to articulate that, but it's powerful. It's like to subdue negativity. So whereas Vajra was to pacify, the North green family enlightened activity is to subdue, right? And so she has the power to enact all of those enlightened activity and to magnetize all that is beneficial for beings. So it's this beautiful one to focus on right now as the year's end. I was thinking about that. You know, we have wars, we have violence, we have strife and starvation and illness and everything. And she's a great one to focus on as the year comes to an end, because it's like this gathering of all the positive energy and then enacting that for the benefit of all beings as we start to look forward with the solstice into the next phase of light, the next year.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you for that explanation. So it's pacifying, increasing, magnetizing, and subduing or destroying.
Destroying, yeah. What do you think about that?
One of the ways that I think of the four trinles is how to work with situations. And how, for example, if you have a problem with somebody, at first you try to pacify them. You try to make peace. It's really, it's sometimes called a peaceful, like the peaceful fire puja, you know, is that one.
Yeah.
And connected to the color white. And then in the South, let's say they don't get pacified. So then you give them some gifts.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, really. And that can actually help when you're having a problem with somebody. It's just like, you know, oh, I thought of you. I wanted to give you this. So it's sort of that increasing energy. And then Wandu has, sometimes it can be a little difficult to distinguish between the increase and the magnetizing. But the magnetizing is really drawing toward you. So that would be like, with that person, you really try to magnetize them, sort of not seduce them literally, but sort of pull in the energy and connect with them more deeply. And then ultimately, if none of that works, or subdue, and just like, this isn't working, I need to create a boundary here. So that fourth one is the fierce activity, but all of them are enlightened activities, and so these are not based on our egoic needs. And it's important to talk about also with the fifth Tara, because some people think that she's sort of she's like the dating Tara, you know, like
the Cupid Tara with her bow and arrow.
Oh yeah, that's, you know, in a lot of the early Hindu, that she was used was as love potions. She was for that. So she got sort of uplifted when she became a Buddhist goddess. But yeah, that's still there, and a lot of people think that that's what she is. But I go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I like how the Buddhists kind of reframed the bow and arrow. The classic Buddhist way of thinking is that arrow pierces the heart of duality and brings beings into a state of non-duality. I thought, okay, that's cool. That's elevating the Cupid image.
Oh, being made of flowers so it has the kind of gentleness and the Padma quality.
Yeah.
So she's interesting. I think, thank you for associating me with her.
You're welcome. As we're talking, I'm also thinking of Saraha's consort, the Fletcheress Dakini. She could have also been. She could also, along with Machig and you, she could be one of those perhaps Padma deities because of that association with the bow and arrow, how she taught Saraha.
The arrow maker, the arrowsmith woman.
Yeah.
Became his guru, really, but she's never named. This frequently happens with women. They're there and they're very important, but they're not named.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you a few questions now. Are you ready for that?
Bring it on. Bangdu.
Why do you think the 21 Taras are important today? Like, why are they important right now in the world?
Yes, such a great question. And they are so important, I think, because they, historically, we've had such a limited variety of images of the sacred feminine, the empowered or enlightened feminine. They're really few and far between. And yet they're there, they exist. We just don't hear about them very much. So this elevates that those different expressions of how the feminine energy, no matter what your gender identity is, we all have that kind of feminine expression, the yin as opposed to the yang, or the solar in Buddhist Tantra as opposed to the lunar, which would be masculine. That's an interesting flip, actually, from like the Hindu and Taoist way of seeing things. It's fun to talk about that, actually, but not here. And so to really get to embody a dynamic variety of ways that the empowered, enlightened, liberated feminine can manifest in the world and in ourselves, right? And to support that, because often either women are hysterical or, angry or irrational, or like in the Madonna image, self-sacrificing mother. And we don't have a lot of images of ways we can embody the dynamic power within us. We don't always want to be a mother. We don't even always want to self-sacrifice in the sense of that word. Maybe it's time for us to step out and say, no, I'm important too. I need to be heard. And the Taras embody that quality. Like this one, she's got this dynamic of the peaceful and the fierce or wrathful within her. And I like to imagine that as like the collision of opposites that give rise to an explosive dynamism of, they call it semi-fierce or semi-wrathful, right? Is the common way to say that, her category of the mood or the expression of this Tara. But often you'll teach that it's joyful. And I think that's beautiful, because it's that kind of, maybe even like what I say in the other Red Tara chapter, Tara 1 is its state of, in the best sense of the word, orgasmic unification of opposites, that potency of dynamism. So these Taras embody this and don't hide it, That's the way we can embody. Qualities.
It's really true that we've had such limited images of examples or models of the spiritual embodiment of the feminine. And I mean, I grew up with really only the Virgin Mary. That was one that I had. And we all need models. When we're trying to decide what to do, we often think about, well, what did so-and-so do? Or what, how did they do it? Or what's a model for what I'm trying to get to? And then if you have all these various models that you can use for various activities, it just has an incredible richness in it. Wonderful.
I'm remembering your book, the first book you wrote, Women of Wisdom. That's exactly what that did for so many of us. And I know that was your impetus for writing that book and translating those great Tibetan women practitioners' biographies. And so it's so true. And that helped me so much in my 20s when I was studying Dharma in India without a lot of female embodiment representations.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Taras do that too. They continue that in a different way.
So leading from that, can you talk about your own personal experiences or things that happened that led you to feel there was a need for the feminine in your life, and also a need to acknowledge the fact of the patriarchy in Buddhism, and how that came to you personally in your experience?
Yeah. I had the good fortune of having a Buddhist mother, Tibetan Buddhist mother practitioner, right? Janine, my mom. And she was always very devoted to Tara. So when I was a young girl, she taught me her mantra. She told me about Tara as the enlightened feminine. So I knew that she was there. I knew that existed within the Dharma. But when I grew up in Dharma centers, and my parents would often host lamas, and it was so obvious the disconnect between the idealism of the empowered feminine and the balance between the masculine and feminine enlightened qualities, and then the cultural expression of the norms, very, very patriarchal. And women are strong in Tibetan culture. Like in India right now, the Tibetan government is, I think, over half women. Like there's also another side of Tibetan culture that's really liberated better than the United States representation in the government, for example, right? So I'm not painting broad strokes, but often in religious power structures, no matter what religion it is, religious spiritual tradition it is, the patriarchy is quite a bit stronger because there's a lot of power and money, and and so I was raised with that awareness from a feminist lens, definitely raised a feminist. So I knew early on, okay, there's injustice there, and I felt that too, and I felt it from her frustration, what she would say and feel, but also so in love with the tradition that we're still in it, like we're still here. But then for me personally, I think when it really got brought to home, how we can be aware of an issue, but we don't really understand it until it hits us, it collides with us. And that happened when I was about 22, 23. I was volunteering at a Dharma center here in California, really committed to taking Dharma seriously, moving away from my other pursuits towards a spiritual life, thinking about going to India and becoming a nun. I didn't know about you at the time. I learned about you in your book when I lived in India, and that was very helpful. Mm-hmm. But before that, I didn't know about your work and other women's work in Buddhism. So while I was volunteering at this Dharma center one day, this crazy experience happened where this very powerful Lama who was from Eastern Tibet was giving Dharma teachings quite regularly. And I won't, I don't want to name any names, but I will just say, Tibetan Tertun, treasure revealer. Everybody was like, whoa, he was crazy wisdom, very beautiful teachings. And so we were in it, hair on fire, practicing Dharma, volunteering at the Dharma center. We were all in his quarters one day. He was giving some, Dharma talk and talking about building Sangha, and just maybe 5 of us in the room with the translator. And suddenly out front, we were in a suburban environment with, cars going by and houses all around us. We weren't in nature or in a retreat center. Out front, we hear this, a car crash. And we were like, oh my God, what is that? So we all, except for the Lama, the Rinpoche, we all jumped up to go out and see what was going on. So people got up and started leaving the room, and I was following, and he said to me, psst, psst. No, you stay. And I thought, oh, maybe he needs something. Maybe he wants to tell me something. And honestly, I thought maybe he's going to give me a very special teaching. We have this thought of like, oh, I'm staying behind because I'm special. And so he ushers me closer to him, and I'm like, oh, is he going to whisper this important teaching in my ear? And you know what he does? He puts his hand down my t-shirt. He's wearing a t-shirt. So into my neck and grabs my breast. And I was like, no. And I sort of like playfully, but firmly slapped his hand and said, no, I'm not that kind of girl, And he was just sort of laughed and brushed it off. And then I was like, okay. And I ran out. So that was like, oh my God, I actually didn't know that he was a householder. So I also thought he was a monk. So not only is that not okay, I thought he was breaking his vows. I was beginning early days. And I was really conflicted about that. And I told one person, and I said, please, can I confide in you? She said, okay, I won't tell anybody. I was grappling with it. But then she told everybody. So then it creates this uproar in the Sangha. And guess what? Guess who gets blamed?
You.
He calls me in there with the translator, a week later, chews me out, tells me I'm ruining his enlightened activities. people left the Sangha because of what they heard. So then here I'm getting blamed. And so that really pissed me off. And it really made me almost leave Dharma altogether. But the love of Dharma was so strong. I was like, no Lama is going to get, and his, abusive behavior is going to get in the way between me and my Dharma, So even though he taught me a lot on many levels, this was disruptive, but it also taught me a lot too,
Yeah.
And so then it really came alive in me of like, this can't be okay.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah. It's interesting that there was this accident right in that moment, because that, when you think of things as symbols, that in a way it was like a crashing together of cultures, and also of the masculine and feminine, and the patriarchal abuse. And that's so common, that the woman is blamed.
Yeah.
That it's your fault.
Yeah.
I had a similar experience with a Bhutanese Lama, where it wasn't that he came on to me, but he came on to someone else who was very, very young and very vulnerable, like 15 years old. And then I wrote him a letter about it, and basically said it's not okay. And your teachings are wonderful. And this, do you think about the impact on these women and so on? And then his Sangha, some of whom were feminists, they attacked me rather than him.
Yeah.
And so I think that before Me Too, that was experience of a lot of people, and somehow that's getting kind of swept under the carpet now with Me Too, and we do have a voice now, although of course it's still going on and women are still being silenced, but all the women, not only in Hollywood but everywhere in the business world, within families, within religious situations, who got blamed for patriarchal misbehavior. So,
yep. Well, as you're talking, even before you uttered, you said Me Too, I'm thinking, here we are, we get a chance to have a Me Too moment, you and I, and hopefully that helps other people, whether they're a man or a woman or non-binary, who experience similar kinds of things in spiritual communities. And actually the 17th Tara, one of the real life manifestations I chose, there are two in that chapter, 17th Tara, who this is the Tara who stops immeasurable invading forces, right? So the first real life embodiment I chose is an amazing woman named Virginia Hall, who was a spy, worked in espionage in World War II and helped to literally stop the invading forces of Germany into France and World War II. But then the second choice, I chose a movement, because I started to thinking of these enlightened activities of Tara, not only in individuals, but within movements, right? Founded by women. Tarana Burke founded Me Too, and it was about stopping the invasion of our bodies, right? That stopping of invading energy that violates and robs us of our autonomy through sexual abuse and other forms of abuse. And so I want to encourage people to read that chapter. I feel that that's an interesting thing to think about in terms of how do we embody the activities of helping to stop invading forces, whether it's violence or verbal abuse or physical abuse of us or others. So Me Too movement. And her name has Tara in it, Tarana Burke. She's a beautiful, amazing autobiography. I highly recommend reading about the origin of Me Too and her bodhisattva intent to give people a voice, empathy, a space to say what happened to them and to be heard.
What is the name of her book?
I don't remember her. It's an autobiography by Tarana Burke herself, Burke, the founder of the Me Too movement.
And post it.
Yeah, maybe Dreamy can post it here. It's also a good audiobook. She reads it. I listened to her audiobook. It's beautiful.
So one more question, and then we'll close.
Okay.
Is there a particular one of the 21 Taras that you connect with, or that has been particularly personally meaningful for you?
Yeah. Yes, it's been really interesting living with them, trying to, help to channel them. And at various times of my life, this book took 5 years altogether to write, research a few years, writing 2 years, for 2 years. So it was almost serendipitous of like, oh, I'm working on the 9th Tara chapter. She's a green Tara, swiftness, bringing things to fruition and protecting from danger. And that came alive in my life at that time. I talk about that in the chapter 9. But for me, the main one, if I was to choose one, it would be personally Tara 4, the 4th Tara, Tara Ushnisha Vijaya. She's another longevity Tara, and she helps to balance the energies within our body, within nature, kind of similar to Tara 12, but different. She's associated with Pragyaparamita. She's a golden color. She's said to have emitted from the top knot of the Buddha's head when he was expounding a sutra, giving Dharma teachings. And then she also gave her sutra called the Ushnisha Vijaya Dharani, or sutra. It's like the Heart Sutra Dharani, which is a long mantra to be memorized and recited. So that's a beautiful text. It's more common in Mahayana Zen traditions, but it's a gorgeous one. But she focuses on healing, and she really helped me through a lot of health challenges that I've experienced over the last 2 years. And I'm starting to come out of it. And often I would pray to her, ask her to help. And often I'd feel her kind of moving through my body. Okay, we're going to go over here and do some cleaning up. And it was quite powerful. She came alive in me in ways that weren't found in the commentaries or that I had learned from any teacher. And these taras tend to do that. People tell me stories about that too, where she comes alive in us and in the world in ways we totally don't predict. And so Ushnisha Vijaya, which literally means top knot, or the crown protuberance. Robert Thurman just said the other day, he thinks of that as like the Buddha's extra brain, extra gray matter. That's funny. Yeah, it's a sign of enlightenment that, it's kind of triple, I think, level of a bubbling up of top knot. So that's Ushnisha, or Tsuktor in Tibetan. Yeah. So she's powerful.
And that's part of the longevity terma that I received from Machik also.
Right.
A different form, not in the form of the Tara, but in the form of Namgyalma or Ushnisha Vijaya with the 8 arms. But she's also one of the oldest Buddhist goddesses too.
That's right. The Dalai Lama's monastery in one of his main monasteries in Tibet is called Namgyal, and it's named after her, Ushnisha. I didn't know that until I researched the book. There's also Wutaishan, that famous mountain in China. She's associated with that mountain.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I was just writing about Wutaishan yesterday.
Really?
But not that. Yeah. About something else connected to Vimalamitra, who's supposed to still be there. He manifests there in physical form to people.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm excited about your Tara course that you're going to be giving. That's amazing. Can you just, before we close, talk a little bit about that? Because I think people would really love to dive in to all this in a different way than they can in an hour.
Yeah. We have a wonderful online course that we've just launched a couple of days ago, and maybe Dreamela, could you pull that up and post it, the link to that? It starts in April, 2024. The early bird ends, that it'll be on there. There's an early bird, so if you're interested, maybe sign up sooner than later. And each 2-hour class will, or hour and a half, 2-hour class will really go deep into one Tara, and we'll meditate on her, chant her mantra, also learn the melody to her mantras. I've co-founded a nonprofit called the 21 Taras Collective with Nina Rao and Genevieve Walker, 2 wonderful kirtan artists who we've all composed or brought traditional melodies in to work with or sing with the 21 Tara mantras to help facilitate learning of the mantra, going deeper into devotion. And we've recorded 7 of those. So I will also we'll record all of them, but we'll come out in the new year with the first 7. So we'll announce that. But the mantra that you hear at the beginning of Lama's Lama Live is Nina Rao singing her melody to the 12th Tara. So I'll share those melodies. So it will have a dynamic sort of like embodiment, really learning of her iconography, but also her mantra and how to embody her real life women. And I want these real life women and movements to have a life of their own, to grow. I mean, I had to choose 1 or 2 for each chapter for the sake of time and space. But you will have associations with different amazing people you've met. So I want this to continue to grow so we can compile like a long, nice body of suggestions and ideas of how Tara is coming alive for everyone. And that will also be a part of the course. It will last for a few months. And we'll take our time going through each Tara. And then we'll also have an in-person retreat at Tara Mandala in July on the topic of embodying Tara in her many forms. So all of that should be posted. And the book grew out of 2 prior online year-long courses I gave. It helped me form the book. So I give thanks in my book to the many participants in those early courses for their suggestions and feedback. And so it keeps moving. Yeah.
The one at Tara Mandala is separate from the year-long one, right?
Yes. It's meant to enhance the year-long online. So for people who want to come and meet each other in person and practice on the sacred land, which is an embodiment of Tara herself, as Rinpoche said, right, Lama La? Like this is, the land is the body of Tara. So we'll practice on the beautiful land of Tara Mandala in Colorado. But it can be separate. It's
there too.
What?
And the statues are there.
And the statues are there. So we'll practice in the temple with the 21 Tara statues.
Yeah.
Oh, there they are. And there's Machig in the middle.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful temple.
It's an octagon and the Taras go all the way around it. That's a clear difference than most Buddhist temples are not round or roundish. And I think that came out of the feminine. It has to be round, right?
Yes.
So, yeah. Well, that course sounds amazing, like a really deep dive so people can get to know them. And if you felt something today with the 5th Tara, with Kurukulla, then come back and dive in, and then you have access to all these different ones for whatever happens in your life. There's a Tara for it.
That's
So,
right. Yeah, just to point this in the course last time. Remember during the election and Elizabeth Warren's like, I have an answer for that, or something like, I have a suggestion. There was a kind of a one-liner joke she'd always say. Is during that time I kept feeling like Elizabeth Warren, like, I have a Tara for that.
yeah. Well, I would love to hear some comments from all of you of how was your experience doing the Kurukulla mantra and embodying her. How did that feel? I'm just curious if anyone wants to plug in here as we close. So let's come back to ourselves as we dive into the closure of this time together. We open it with bodhicitta and we close it with dedication of merit. Merit is all the positive energy that we generate in our lives. So if you say something kind to someone, that generates merit. If you give a gift, that generates merit. If you do any positive action or cultivate any positive thoughts, that generates merit. And merit is like a sort of positive energy bank that we accumulate in our mind stream. And at the end of practices, we give that away. We let it go and we give it away to benefit all beings everywhere. And perhaps today think about places in the world or people that you know that are struggling. You might have some specific friends or relatives that have illnesses. We certainly know the situation in Israel, Palestine, so much on our minds now, but don't forget Ukraine and all the other places in the world that don't get as much attention in the media, where there is acute suffering, and send some of your merit there. Offering it out. And then in general to all beings everywhere. Feel that goodness in your heart and offer it out to all beings. Thank you. And I'm excited also because we're going to be with you again on Thursday for the solstice gathering, in which you're going to also talk about the 21 Taras and lead some meditations. And yeah, so that's coming right up.
Yes, Thursday the solstice. Thank you. And I also want to just also extend my gratitude to you for being so magnetizing. You know, you really embodied a lot of these Taras to me, but when I chose Machi Glaudrin and you for the 5th Tara, it was because out of this sense of wonder, but also gratitude for all the hard work you've put into bringing the Dharma to so many of us who might not have had access to it. Right? Not just women, but mainly women, but other folks, you know, who have been marginalized, right? And so thank you for embodying that kind of magnetic power, but also compassion and wisdom to bring that to fruition. I feel like you forming Tara Mandala and magnetizing so many of us from all around the world to practice, to Tara's, you know, physical body on the land is such a beautiful example of how Tara Kurukulla is magnetizing and enriching and pacifying and subduing powers have come to being. So read the 5th Tara chapter, everybody, and see how Machi and Lama Tsultrim, you know, in more detail embody the 5th Tara Kurukulla. She's so fabulous. I love her.
Thank you.
And I love you. Thank you.
I remember I was just thinking as you were saying, when I saw you and I decided to magnetize you. I saw you and I was like, I want to get to know her. Who is she? You know, because of course I knew your parents, but you just had a certain energy about you, and you were there with Tara, like your daughter, and she was quite young at that time. I don't know, 3. Okay. Wow. And so
the Drupchen, right, Lamala? The Drupchen up in Northern California.
Yeah, and we connected, and I think I asked you to help with an auction.
Yeah, that's very magnetizing.
Magnetizing. But that's interesting that I really had that feeling with you, like I want to connect with her, because I felt like it was so important that we sort of support this next generation of people, because in many Dharma centers in the Tibetan tradition anyway, it's all people in my generation, or mostly people in my generation. So then what's going to happen if we don't have anyone in the next generation? Somehow Tara Mandala has always attracted youth. remark on that? Because other people would say, oh, it's just all of us old fogies, or as my daughter says, the dried up hippies.
Yeah.
But
We love them though.
So anyway, thank you, and so excited that Embodying Tara is with us now, and that you're going to deepen the understanding of these embodiments of the sacred feminine. It's such an enriching project and such an enriching book, and wow, it's wonderful. And thank you for being with us today, Lama Life.
Yeah, thank you for magnetizing me. I'm infinitely grateful. I might have been, in finance or something.
Yeah, you might have just gotten discouraged about the patriarchy.
Oh, totally. You saved that.
That was a close call.
Yeah.
And I think that's happened to not only you. So, yeah, lots of love to all of you out there. I see your thank yous coming in. Michelle Lebrun saying, I'm loving the book.
Oh.
And others wrote earlier, I looked a little bit, and people that, oh, my book arrived. And, So the other thing that you all can do is write a review on Amazon for her book. The more reviews that happen, especially if they're 5-star reviews, the book will move up, and then it will be sort of more in people's view on Amazon. So if we can kind of push it up to be a bestseller on Amazon, even if it's just in the category of Tibetan Buddhism, that will really help the book a lot. So
yeah.
Buying it on Amazon and then writing a review, then it can be a verified review. I know you might not want to invest in Amazon, but maybe for this occasion.
Yeah, apparently you have to buy it from Amazon to write in a review on Amazon. But if you have a Goodreads account, anyone can write a good review on Goodreads. And I've heard that's also really helpful. And if you have a testimonial you want to email me at chandra@taramandala.org, I'm adding some of those more personalized reader testimonials on the website too.
That would be good. And Shambhala Publications just beamed in.
They did? Aww.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. What a great team. I love them. Make beautiful books. They did such a good job with me.
I connected with Nico last night and said, we're doing this. We should get it out on your network. I'm not sure if they had time to, but maybe. And so Shambhala is doing a lot of good books. They'll be doing also Lopön Chandra and Peter's book on Sky Mind coming up.
Yes.
So, yeah. Okay, everybody, lots of love and big hugs and happy solstice, and hope to see you on solstice.
Thank you so very much, Lama La and Lopön Chandra La. Thank you for your amazingness, for being inspiring, strong, beautiful women. So much gratitude for having you together this way and practicing alongside you. We can't wait to connect even more and learn even more. Thank you so much. And it's been truly a joy to share this space and time with each of you today. Thank you for your meaningful and powerful presence. Again, I wholeheartedly invite you to join Lopön Chandra and all of us this winter solstice on Thursday, December 21st, as we begin this new cycle with intention and compassion for all beings. We will continue celebrating Lopön Chandra's new book there, and it's also Taramandala's last program of the year. And I'm also thrilled to share about this newly announced in-person retreat with Lama Tsultrim Allione, non-dual awareness and exploration of effortless presence, that will be held at the Hollyhock Cordes in Canada from August 9th to 14th. drawing from over 50 years of training and practice in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, Lama Tsultrim will guide you in the awakening and identification of this natural state of self-cognizing awareness through stories, dialogue, experiential exercises, and meditation in nature. And also, Lama La hasn't taught in Canada since the 80s. So it's an extraordinary opportunity in an extraordinary place. If you can go, please do. That will be just fantastic. And you can always connect with Lama Tsultrim through her Wisdom Rising podcast, which is so absolutely great. And an episode is released every single week. I'll post all the links in the chat shortly, so don't worry. And finally, following the tradition going all the way back to the time of the Buddha 2600 years ago, you have the opportunity to make an offering of Dana to Lama Tsultrim and Dorje Lopön Chandra. Dana is a Pali and Sanskrit word that means generosity. Dana directly recognizes the precious gift of the teacher and the teachings, without which one could not practice the Dharma. If you would like to offer Dana, please follow the links you will see in the chat in a moment. And as we close our time together, let's take a moment to acknowledge the generational caretakers of the land you're on, the indigenous ancestors who are here before us. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to them and others who also make it possible for us to practice here. Our families, co-workers, community, including all beings seen and unseen who support our practice, and particularly our teachers who skillfully offer us these precious teachings. May all beings, without one exception, benefit and be free from suffering. Thank you so much, everyone. May we meet again and again on the path, and may all beings benefit everywhere.
Om tare tu re, Mangalam Shri Mahapani Swaha. Om tare tu re, Mangalam Shri Mahapani Swaha. Om tare tu re, Mangalam Shri Mahapani Swaha. Om tare tu re.